Well, good morning. Things are supposed to happen, and of course, as usual, they haven't.
If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I would make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I would make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. Welcome to Mirador Television. Break an egg.
Well, that's our new opening. And it didn't rock it off just the way it was supposed to this morning. But nonetheless, I hope that you like it. And it's called for the music is called If I Had a Word. If I think that's it. My mind goes with these things long just after I've looked at them. If I could give you a word or words to that effect, anyway. But it's the theme from Babe, which is where you may mostly see it. But it's also a symphonic piece. Oh, excuse me. The symphonic piece from a composer called Saint-Saëns. Now, I have to be careful about that. Saen. So it's Saint hyphen Saëns. And it is a beautiful piece, and it was written specifically for organ. And if you bother to look on the web, you can find several orchestras playing it, and it is quite magnificent, quite magnificent. Of course, we know it as If I Told You, etc., from the movie Babe. And it in that movie, of course, his Farmer Hoggett manages to get Babe, the pig, to act as a sheepdog with hoots of scorn and so on, until Babe actually performs the absolutely perfectly herding the sheep around for reasons I won't tell you. But it's an excellent movie. If you've never seen it, do get hold of it. It's just simply called Babe, which is the name of the little pig. But Farmer Hoggett does a dance, and he does it to this theme music. If I had words, that's the word. That's the title. If I had words to make you, etc. And believe it or not, it was a smash hit. But it only has 4 lines of lyrics. That's all. And just repeated throughout the piece. And it, as one critic said, how on earth 4 lines of lyrics can create such emotion in a piece, heaven only knows. Anyway, let us carry on with the morning. That's what you'll be greeted with each morning for a little while. And let's see if we can get on with our show. What's this one? That is as it's supposed to be. Except no music. Never mind. When you start something new, you always you always have a few teething problems, don't you? And I got in at 5 o'clock this morning so I could put all this together, and I worked all weekend putting it together. And the fact of the matter is that we're getting a little. The machines don't always like you when you introduce something new. So you just have to ride with them on the very first day. Anyway, that was supposed to introduce our news. It's a new sting to introduce the news. Actually, it's rather than a music one. But let's take a look at what's happening in the news. Well, let's go back to front, because we'll start with the Financial Times, which has pointed out that a flight has been hijacked, if you like, or actually diverted to Minsk, the capital of Belarus, which is the one last remaining old-style Soviet Union dictatorship. And it seems that they've diverted the aircraft on the excuse that it was being hijacked, so that they could get their hands on an activist, somebody who stands against the regime. And so the Financial Times is pointing out that, my goodness me, we better start to worry if that sort of thing is going to happen with aircraft being hijacked just by dictators whenever they feel like it. And I rather think that the international repercussions of that will be quite huge. And the Financial Times was right to highlight it in its front pages. The story is in other papers, but it hasn't got the same prominence as in the Financial Times. Now, The Guardian, right, good for The Guardian, because it normally takes a different tack to the rest of the papers, and it has this morning, because it says, its headline is, just 1.6% of rape cases lead to a charge. Not lead to a conviction, lead to a charge. I mean, that's only a little over 1 in every 100 rape cases that come to the police's attention lead to somebody being charged. Now, of course, there are always sort of funny circumstances surrounding any sexual assault, any sexual crime. But if that is the case, it really looks as if it's heyday for anybody who wants to find their way with a woman. Just with no fear whatsoever of ever being prosecuted. It is, The Guardian is quite right, I think, to highlight that. Now, in the Times, the Culture Secretary has called for changes at the BBC. Well, there was all the scandal last week of Martin Bahir's, I'll get the names right eventually, broadcast interview with Princess Diana, which looks as if it was built on lies, but that when the BBC found out, or even knew in the first instance, they tried to cover up, quite a serious cover up, and the government is saying, we're not having it. You better sort yourselves out very quickly. And I think there are lots of changes at the BBC, and I think that's absolutely right. I don't know why it takes people. The fact of the matter is that the establishment have got it so well made. What they don't do is they don't bother to talk to people at the coalface, or if they do, they discount them. Or if they do, they say this is going to upset the apple cart, and they ignore them. It's about time we had some transparency in all the major institutions, because it's not only the BBC that is under fire at the moment, but also Scotland Yard for its handling of the sex cases, but also the fact that it doesn't seem to be able to get its act together on a whole host of things. And the government is saying, is there something at the top? Because you also keep on hiding stuff. And there are cases going back decades in which they've successfully managed to hide bits and pieces and keep everybody at bay. And that's really not on. So, Boris to marry Carrie, says the son. Well, it looks as if he's, I don't know, should we believe the son? Is somebody actually then is saying that he's popped the question, right? Will you marry me, darling? We've lived together for so long, and look where we are. We're number 10 Downing Street. Perhaps we better legitimize it before anybody tries to take it away. Anyway, it looks as if the Prime Minister is going to get married, and all those respectable people who don't like the idea of our Prime Minister cohabiting with another lady, with a lady in Westminster, in apartments paid for by us. That bit I can agree with. If somebody would pay for an apartment for me to cohabit with a lady, I would be delighted. And I can't find any ladies who want to cohabit with me, so it would be a waste of money. So I'm saving the taxpayers' money left, right, and centre. All right. The Metro, its headline is "Third Immunity," and I'm not quite sure what that story is about for the moment. Let's see. A third of the population is being fully vaccinated against COVID-19. And there's a record surge in jabs over the weekend. And we really are doing extremely well. So the headline is saying is that a third of us now are immune to anything that the virus can throw at us. Now, be careful. That doesn't mean to say to go start hugging and kissing again. Nobody wants that more than me. But be very, very careful about how you behave from now on. What we don't want is for a whole new epidemic to be triggered, and that we have to go back through the vicious and nasty scene that we've been through in the last 18 months or so. The Eye is very positive about it. Freedom on the 21st of June is looking good. And it points out that there, even with the Indian variant, that we are not looking too bad in terms of having met all the criteria to keep us safe, which means that on June the 21st, we can actually rush back into the pubs. Actually, strange enough, we haven't rushed back into the pubs. And I don't think we will rush back into the pubs. Times are changing. Is the pub industry in trouble? I have no idea. I went on Sunday into a pub, well, on Saturday and Sunday, actually. And I had, on one day, I just drank. Sounds marvelous, isn't it? I just drank. Of course, I didn't just drink. But what I did was I didn't eat, is what I was trying to say. I was with two pals, had a lovely afternoon on Saturday afternoon. And then particularly since I was feeling a bit down and I was feeling a little ill. So it was one of those nice diversions. But anyway, it looks as if we'll soon be able to belly up to the bar. And I hope that we do want to, and that's one of the things that hasn't disappeared from English life. The dentist will see you in 3 years, both the Express and the Mail, are pointing out that there are an awful lot of dentists with backlogs so great that they can't fulfill the demand. And I wonder why that is. Certainly, dentists are very, very expensive people. I have some insurance, thank goodness, because otherwise my teeth would be rotting. I couldn't afford to go. And many dentists don't actually take NHS patients. So there is a real crisis starting there. But we're going to have a nation of rotting teeth, all saluting the flag and saying how wonderful our Queen is, with a grin with no teeth or black teeth. But finally, the Daily Telegraph, which has perhaps the most serious headline of the lot, as far as I'm concerned, is a cancer crisis risks replacing the pandemic. In other words, what we've been doing is we've been so busy fighting the pandemic, quite rightly so, but we've taken our eye off the ball of all sorts of other things. And one of those is cancer. And prior to the pandemic, it's the idea of cancer scared the hell out of everybody. And now we barely hear a mention of it, but it doesn't mean it's gone away. On the contrary, it hasn't gone away. It's there for all to see, or not see, because it creeps up on you. And cancer is the same. There's nothing patent about cancer. Sure, you start to feel tired and various symptoms, but you don't see it any more than you see the pandemic. And I think that we've been foolish to ignore that and ignore looking after some of the organizations, particularly when they're supported by charities, that address some of the other things in our lives medically, and which are quite severe, other than the well, I suppose we call it the bug. I call it the bug. All right, those are the headlines. What should we do now? What we'll do is, I think, we will take a little look at what Stephen Catlin has to say. He is our mayor.
Rather that I should be saying, hello everyone, this is Henry Hall speaking, but as you can see, I'm not Henry Hall, but it doesn't sound as pompous as saying, hello, this is the Mayor of Lewes for the next municipal year. So let's just pretend all I've said is, good morning everyone, and I hope you're well. What I thought I'd start by doing is let you know what I said when they declared that I was the Mayor of Lewes, because we are living in interesting times, as well you know, and I thought you might just give me a little indulgence and let me say this, which is what I said last Wednesday to the council. We are entering a very exciting stage for the town council. As we exit lockdown, it is important that this council re-engages with the town of Lewes, not just those sections which reflect our own individual pet projects, but the whole town. And I look forward to the council's achieving this with the participation of all members. There has been much talk of a memorial to those lost to the town through COVID-19, and it could be that there is no better place than the newly laid out Peace Garden up at the Magic Circle. I would like this to be a project for the year, with fundraising as necessary. We must also engage with the new young voters in the town to show all generations that this council has relevance to what is done here. Just nipping back to the Peace Garden project, District Council have been in touch with me, and it looks like we may be able to work together on achieving this as the memorial site for victims of COVID-19. My charities for the year are Sussex Search and Rescue, very important, and also to reconnect with the youth of Lewes, the Lewes Youth Band, and I'm giving them free use of the town hall for a concert later in the year. I hope that there will be a mayoral civic reception in September, with the former mayor, John Lamb, being present also to finally be able to award the medals to the civic volunteers who gained them. I think that's good. One of the future aims, also set out during the Open Council Working Party, was to establish a Lewes Arts Council, and I hope this year will see its establishment. The arts are a vibrant part of life in the community of the town, and the council must do all it can to see the arts reawaken from their long slumber after breakdown. I hope we will also see the introduction of the innovative participatory budgeting, which will give those in the town a say in where some of their money on certain projects can be spent. That's the idea. People have offered congratulations already, and I've said I think they're probably best at the end of what may be a successful year. We'll see how it goes and play carefully. But before I go for today, I want to tell you of a bit of a gevalt we've been having with the bright lights at night along by the railway station. You may not know, but you certainly will now, that Station Road in Lewes is owned by the railway. It is not a county highway. And when blockades first started about 2 years ago, they erected a row of street lamps because there hadn't been any there before. Sadly, these street lamps burn brightly all through the night in complete defiance of the South Downs National Park Dark Skies policy. Prompted by a couple of residents and more in the town, I have been onto the railway about it. After about 2 months, writing as 'twere to Father Christmas, I'm beginning to get somewhere. There will be an article in the Sussex Express tomorrow, but I can tell you, we are beginning to see progress, and they may at last put sensors in those lights so that they dim right down and only come up bright when someone goes by, thus helping the national park to achieve its dark skies policy. It's all worth seeing what members of even the merest parish come town council can achieve if you keep in touch with them. I'll chat soon and look forward to you seeing me, seeing you. Bye for now.
Well, there you are, Stephen, our new mayor, the town's new mayor, and a worthy choice, I think. And as you can see, he's laid out his stall, and it's up to us now to support him in that. Or if you disagree with some of the things that he says or wants to support, let him know, because debate is the essence of democracy. And let's make sure that that's what we are offering to our fellow citizens. Oh, rant, rant, rave, rave, he said. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, that's the start. So what I was looking for, really, I suppose, is this. And the weather today is going to be 7 degrees start, rising to 13 degrees centigrade. Light rain showers, not a breeze, not much different to over the weekend. Perhaps let's get caught in a shower and it's a happy moment. But generally, not a bad, not a bad. But that's still you have on. So do watch out when you go out. Oh, there's all sorts of little bits and pieces that are coming up, and they will work, I assure you, as we carry on. Okay. Let's just finish off the headlines, although we really did, with the warning that cancer risks being overshadowed by the pandemic, but it is still a vicious enemy in our midst, and more people fall to cancer than any other disease. And it has so many variants itself that sometimes some people aren't even diagnosed properly to begin with. So treatment is delayed, and that's not the fault of the medics. That's simply the fact that some of these diseases that we have in our midst are very clever, and they make sure that if there's a threat to their existence, that they fight back, and that means coming to get us. All right. Now I'm going to play you a little story that hopefully, and it's about Lewes Airport. And I'm not sure whether this is the story or not, but we can soon take it off and put the right one on. Now this must be the airport, I would have thought. No, that's news. Well, we'll keep going. Let's try this one. That's it.
There's been a few new additions to the town over the summer. Whole raft of new eating and sleeping places cropped up in Lewes over the summer. Most of them were in cliff, but Coat is at the top of the town on the high street. So far, I've only been in for a cup of coffee, but they've been very welcoming, and I suppose that it looks as if it'll do very well. Give it a try. Then there is Aqua at the bottom of the town, attached to the Premier Inn, also new. I've been in there as well, and they were equally as welcoming, and didn't mind that I just popped in for a cup of coffee and not a full meal. But Fuego is something else. I've only looked in through the front door. It's a new concept, of course, of cafe bar. Not new in the continent, I suppose, but not terribly frequent over here. And I haven't been in there because I'm a bit afraid I might go for the bar rather than the coffee. But one day I'll give it a chance. Anyway, some places new in Lewes over the summer, and places for you to try. I'm here in the village of Charleston, a charming, picturesque British village with a population of 500.
That's not Charleston, Keith. This is Charleston, South Carolina. A charming, picturesque village with a population of 120,000 in the United States.
What about this town, Boston? 120 miles north of London in England. Population, 35,000.
That's not Boston. This is the real Boston. Boston, Massachusetts, population 4 million.
What about this lovely little city, York? I suppose you Yankees have one of those too.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the new and improved York.
Now here's one you can't beat, London. That's London in England. Population, 8 million.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Join us for a journey to different cities with the same name.
A new show comparing big American cities with the small British and European towns that share the same name.
We never should have let you win that little war, Melissa.
Actually, Keith, we beat you at 2 little wars.
What's in a name?
Coming soon to public television.
Little devil on my shoulder, devil me pain. I can't stop, no way. Gonna check in, really check out as soon as I feel okay. Late nights, bright lights, wanna see the city tonight. Maybe I'll do it twice. Maybe I'll say fuck it tonight, yeah, that's right. Little devil never wants to keep it on level. Don't care if I'm going to hell, no. I'm gonna do the little devil's deeds. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay,
Whoa,
look at me.
do the little devil's deeds. Oh,
Okay, back again.
oh, oh, oh.
Good.
All right.
Okay, keep going. Well, the funny thing is that when you see it on television, they look at the camera and they look very funny.
This was what the prison looked like when the British Admiralty bought it to house the prisoners of war.
So they bought the prison and they made many adaptations to it. One of them, interestingly, they took the doors off the cells.
Good for freedom of movement, but not so good for privacy. The doors survive in the local museum, all that remains of the prison's interior. The prisoners were separated. The enlisted men, mostly Finns, Swedes and a few Ireland Islanders, were put into the prison, 3 to a cell. But it was a different situation for the Russian officers.
The officers, very different case. They were billeted out amongst the gentry families of the town and surrounding areas, not just Lewes. They had freedom of movement, they had freedom of association, and they generally joined in, if you like, middle to gentry class society. So we have an account, for example, of the officers being very popular dancing partners at local balls because they could waltz so much better than Englishmen. There we go.
Not all the Russians lost themselves in the pleasures of the waltz. Many like
He sat on the bank while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewes is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague, the Black Death.
So there you are. That's a look back to actually almost 4 years ago. And we will be showing old programs because some of them are quite interesting, I think. Oh dear, something's taken off there. There we go. Right, let's just review the headlines again. It's 8:40, and we're kicking in some of our new things and some of the old things. Some of the things you won't see in this hour, but we will see later in the day, because we intend to scatter things as we see them happen. Perhaps one of the things that I thought was quite interesting, and it's kicked up a storm with the in social media, is that Bakeout has made it look very, very attractive in the precinct. And of course, the moment that they do that is that there's always, it impedes wheelchairs, it impedes this and impedes the other. Well, actually, that's nonsense. If you don't want it there, say so, but don't try to use things which won't stand up in argument. It's a good initiative, and it makes it look or start to look like a town square, of which we have none. We don't have what the Romans would call a forum, and perhaps it's time that we started to think in terms of the precinct being developed there. Stephen Catlin, you and I must sit down and have a noggin and decide whether, in fact, that could be also a project for your mayoralty to try and get the precinct alive, ho. So there we are. I think we'd better play a couple of commercials, haven't we? We have got some new commercials lined up. There are all sorts of things coming in. It takes a little time to load them into the system, and I worked all over the weekend at it. And I got quite a number of things done, but getting them loaded takes a bit of time sometimes, because there's always something that the system doesn't like, and you have to sort it out. So let's just we've got a little compile here, I think, that will show some of the things that we try to do with people, and some of the things that are happening here that you might like to know about now.
When you've missed the train, don't despair. Have a nice cup of coffee. And perhaps a mince pie. At the Runaway on Lewes Station. After that, why worry about the next train? The Runaway on Lewes Station. Relaxation beyond compare.
Now, in this hour, we are going, as we continue through the summer, to have guest ranters, guest ravers. They're more ranters than ravers. And basically, they each will have issues to take up. And there are plenty around. Corruption, the Metropolitan Police, cover-ups of bad reporting, inaccurate reporting, which had dire consequences at the BBC. The NHS getting their administration into a muck yet again. Dentists creating backlogs or having backlogs of 3 years before you can see a dentist. All these are things which should not be happening in our community. And we each are going to have a rant about it. But I would like to tell you what my rant is going to be. It's going to be twofold. And you've heard me carry on about this before. One is the homeless situation. And this has been brought home starkly to me the last little while. Because let's look at it. I am homeless. It happens to all sorts of people. I am homeless. And it was a combination of circumstance that put me in this position. But nonetheless, there we are. I am homeless. So I'm beginning to understand some of the things that happen to homeless people. The other thing is that I am slightly mad to begin with. But I also have had a great deal of experience over the last 5 years of looking after somebody who was mentally strained, mentally ill. And it is not easy to do that. But also you start to understand is that you, in some ways, are the only one doing that. As a community, we pay lip service to homelessness. We pay lip service to mental health. We, as a society, appoint the future king to head up mental health charities. And then we wash our hands and walk away as if it's all done. Well, it's not. It's not all done. In the case of mental illness, have any of you been into the mental illness section of the hospital in Eastbourne? No, and you don't want to. But it shouldn't be like that. We should be far, far advanced. Far advanced in our fight and our approach to mental health. But we don't. And I can tell you now that we don't. Keith, would you like to come to dinner? But don't bring so-and-so with you. That's the way we treat our mentally ill. Instead of saying, bring so-and-so and let's see what we can do. I've just been thrown out of Waitrose or Tesco. I'm not particularly picking on any supermarket because they're all the same. That's what mentally ill happens. They're mentally ill all the time. They're thrown out. Now, when they behave badly, of course, they need to be thrown out. They need to be addressed. The fact of the matter is that the staff at these supermarkets are not trained to deal with them. And so the poor souls end up in the hands of a copper. And the police say that they would just as soon not deal with this because they have only one option then, and that is to whisk them off to tight security. And I've been in there. And if we are willing as a society to stand that, then don't, whatever you do, get up and sermonize about how bad our community is and how dreadful people are and so on, because you're one of them. We're not doing much at all. Oh, food banks. Now I'm talking about the homeless. We collect for this and we collect for that. And for one moment, I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. It is an important part of supporting charities and supporting homelessness and supporting mental health. But the fact of the matter is that we don't understand it. So what we do is we rattle a tin and we walk away. It's a bit like those people who use the poppy, who use November the 5th as some sort of point to show how squeaky clean they are and that we really shouldn't be indulging in war. Well, we did. And that was a savage war. And if you haven't talked to any veterans about it and tried to understand how savage it was, then don't ponce around being self-righteous, holier than thou. However, I'm getting off the track because I didn't want to talk about the First World War or the Second World War, for that matter. What I want to talk about, and I'm going to this coming week, is homelessness. Because now I'm there, I know how it feels. Have any of you any idea? Because the first thing that happens is you suddenly have a realization, this is happening to me. It doesn't matter whether I rationalize or everybody else rationalizes. In fact, Keith, don't worry, it's just a combination of circumstances. That's beside the point. Is the sheer overwhelming feeling of, I have nowhere to go tonight. And nobody really gives a fig. Yes, I've been given a bed here and there, but you don't like to bother friends. There should be a coordinated approach to it. But we're not doing it. We are not doing it one little bit. And why should we? Well, because we are trying hard to make a society better. I hope that we are anyway. But our leaders should be doing things and they don't. They give this veneer, this surface. And that's why the whole establishment is collapsing around their ears at the moment. And when it comes to homelessness, yes, of course, there are people that, oh dear, they sleep, they own a flat, those people there they sit there all day reading a book and having money given to them. Yeah, well, that's what they do. And they are not a representative of true homeless. Most of the homeless are in various hostels. Well, that's what I'm in. And mine is one of the better ones. And I don't want to tell you, I don't want to go back there tonight. I don't want to go and find myself in a small room again, unable to work. No towels except my own. These places are in this particular case, the young man who owns it and runs it does a very good job. But, it's why does a state pay the same rate for this little hole in the wall? And I've referred to it unkindly as a doss house. No, it's not a doss house in the true sense of the word. But it's where people hang their hats when they've got nowhere else to go. And that's where I found myself. And it's sad. It's sad because it does not cater in any way to the homeless. And in fact, the question that I have to ask of the council, once I've got my feet back under the table, is why do you pay £34.20 in total per night when you don't get a towel, you don't get washing cloth, you don't get shampoo in the room, in the bathroom, you don't get any of the niceties that you would get in a hotel. The first reaction, of course, is, well, yeah, hang on. These places are for people who are homeless, and as a consequence, one can't expect to make them a hotel. Although the interesting thing is, that on the signs inside this house, they call it a hotel. So the thinking is that this is a hotel. There's nothing of the sort. But back to my main point, and that is, why do we pay 32 or 34 pounds a night? And probably with that, it comes up to 35. When, in fact, it is doing little for those people who are most in need, the homeless. It provides nothing but a roof over your head, and it makes it clear that that's what it's providing, but at 32 or 33 pounds. Whereas if you went to stay in the commercial part, oh dear, commercialism in the NHS, oh, we can't do that. No, we can't. The trouble is that so many people are got their heels dogged in. We can't talk sensibly to come and try to come consensus. But what we're doing as taxpayer, we're paying 34 pounds, 33, 34 pounds to house homeless a night in one of these hostels. And if we put them in the Premier Inn, the room would cost 35 pounds, £1 extra. But you get clean towels, you get your bed made every morning, you get a television. There's no television in these places, by the way. Yeah. You get a Wi-Fi. Well, there is Wi-Fi in these places. But you get a whole range of things that make life quite comfortable, living in a room, which you don't get in the hostels, or as I unkindly refer to them as the DOS house. There's a lot of questions that should be asked. A lot of questions. And since on the mental health issue, according to the figures released in 2019, we spend, I think it's 12.2 billion pounds on mental health. And none of that money is coming my way, or people in similar circumstances, where we manage to look after somebody who's nothing to do with us, not related, not in any way. But we do it because the circumstance created the situation to look after them. And basically, while 12.2 billion pounds was being spent elsewhere in the system, what I got was, jolly good, Keith. Well done. Keep it up. I'm not sure that that answers anything. I'll be back with more rants about, and more detail about the homeless, and more detailed about the mentally ill tomorrow. And it's 8:58. And it's almost time for us to say goodbye. Well, it is time for us to say goodbye. It's been a bit stuttering, our first new day. Hopefully we will sort out those few things. Actually, mostly they're just technical. And also that I couldn't get here quick enough this morning to sort out some of the technical issues that need doing to put some of these out. But we've struggled through, and it's not bad. And perhaps you're getting the theme and the idea now. So at 8:58, I'm going to say toodle pip. Thank you for being with me, and I hope that you'll join me whenever you can, and with my team, Steve and Kathleen. He says, Sarah Kathleen. Sarah Kathleen. Steve and Kathleen, and some of the other people. I'm going to have to put it that way because I'm trying hard to list people in my mind, and I can't do it. But we've got a good team, and they're working very hard to put this together. I do have these senior moments, just at senior moment in time. Throughout the day, Susan Harris's photographs will be up. There are a couple of other programs that we're going to show you throughout the day. A repeat of Terry, our lovely Terry's interview with the silversmith, who resides in Lewes and makes silver ornaments and trinkets, and I shouldn't say trinkets because they're much more than that, jewelry, for people around the world and people who are very, very famous. So all these are happening in our own backyard. And you can join me each weekday and see what we've got up our sleeves, just to see what's going on. And we'll be a little better prepared tomorrow morning. So let me remind you of our new intro. And with that, I will say for this morning, toodle-pip, goodbye.
If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I would make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. If I had words to make a day for you, I'd sing you a morning, golden and new. I'd make this day last for all time. Give you a night deep in moonshine. Welcome to Mirador Television. Break an egg.